internal medicine. In this topic of the internal medicine, now today I am going to discuss about the cough and the cough reflex and all the treatments and precautions about that. So coming on the cough, why the cough occur? Cough is occurred due to the forceful release of air from the lungs. Forceful release of air from the lungs. There in the physiology of the lungs, the tidal volume and deep expiration volume and deep inspiration volume. So when you are forcefully expelling out the forcefully expiration takes place, and this cough is the protective. Many times it is the protective reflex, and it is helpful to excrete out the unuseful substances from the lungs, right? So if you want to explain the cough, then you have to say that it is the sudden, because we are not aware about that I am going to cough. It is sudden and involuntary reflex, sudden and involuntary reflex, but it is protective. Mainly it is protective reflex. So, major defensive mechanism performed by this cough reflex. Cough and sneezing reflex are more co-regulated and coordinately takes place in the body. So, coming on the cough, why the cough occur? Causes of the cough. If you talk about the causes of the cough, that expulsion of the respiratory secretion of the foreign particles or irritant or excessive mucus from the air passages. There are the reasons of the cough. There are two type of the cough mainly in the classification: productive cough and non-productive cough. And the cough occur due to the drug induced cough. uh, Productive cough is the cough that is the weight cough, in which we have the lot of the mucus get secreted out from from the lungs because of the inflammation process, severe inflammation process. And also there is the reason of the formation of the leukotrienes in the body. The leukotrienes are formed in the same pathway, in the prostaglandins pathway. Leukotrienes and prostaglandins are formed in the same pathway, that is COX pathway. In the COX-2 enzyme, leukotrienes are formed. They are the local tissue hormones. Leukotrienes also work as the local tissue hormones, or in the biochemistry that they are known as the harmonides. So expulsion of the respiratory secretion of the foreign particles occur by this process. And what are the symptoms? That are respiratory and the cardiovascular pathology. Cough occur may be due to the respiratory reason or the cardiovascular reason. So if I want to discuss about the another mechanism why the cough occur, why the cough is occur. So the reason of the coughing is stimulation of the mechano or chemoreceptor. Mechano and chemoreceptors. There are the chemoreceptors and mechanoreceptors. Mechanoreceptors, the like the stretch receptors that are present in the pharynx, larynx, and in the upper respiratory tract mainly. Upper respiratory tract. They have the stretch receptors. When they get stretched, there is the afferent impulse, means sensory impulse, that goes into the medulla oblongata. Most of the centers, most of the vital centers, and most of the reflex centers present in the medulla oblongata. So the coughing center is also present in the medulla oblongata. From the medulla oblongata, the impulse arises. Efferent impulse arises, and in which way? Via parasympathetic way and the motor nerve to diaphragm. Parasympathetic 10th nerve, the dorsal nucleus of vagus, here from the cuff center of the medulla oblongata, the information goes to the dorsal nucleus of vagus in the vagus nerve, and this vagus nerve supplies the parasympathetic supply to the pharynx, larynx, and many in up to the ileum part in the GIT also. Efferent parasympathetic innervation occur by the vagus nerve. Now, the motor nerve is giving the supply to the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles and lungs. So, all these are correlated and made the impulse and made the reflex that led to the cough. So, that led to the coughing. So, increase in the contraction of the diaphragm, increase in the contraction of the abdominal and intercostal muscles. So that led to the noisy expiration. Noisy expiration means whenever you are coughing in the resting stage, when you are taking inspiration and expiration, there is no noise. But during the time of coughing, there is the noise because sudden, involuntary expiration, deep expiration, forceful expiration takes place. So that's called the cough, right? So this is the mechanism of coughing. Yeah, that afferent impulse send the signal to the cuff center, medulla oblongata, and then efferent impulse present, and efferent impulse send the signal to the uh, by the vagus nerve, and the motor supply to the diaphragm, phrenic nerve, and the abdominal muscles also is contracted at the same time. So, what if there is any reflex? In any reflex, what are the components of any reflex? There are simple reflex and the complex reflex. Complex reflex involve the cerebral cortex also, while simple reflex involve only up to the spinal cord horn only. So there is the component receptors. Receptors are starting of the any reflex started from the receptor, then the cuff center up to from the glossopharyngeal nerve, phrenic nerve, trigeminal nerve, vagus nerve, because all the nerves, these all nerves are belong to this mechanism. Glossopharyngeal nerve, it also have the parasympathetic supply. So trigeminal nerve have the motor supply in the region that by the mandibular region, and also the trigeminal nerve have the maxillary sensory supply into the maxillary region or into the nasopharynx and oropharynx region. So pharyngeal nerve have the motor supply into the diaphragm, and also the cortical input involved. So this is the complex reflex. I explain you that what is simple reflex and complex reflex. Complex reflex also involve the cortical input. So this is the type of complex reflex, and these are the properties that are involved in that. Now, coming on the type of cough depend on the duration. There is the acute cough. It lasts less than the 3 week. Acute cough is the lasting for the 3 weeks, and the causes of the acute cough, most of the time the acute cough is the protective type cough, while the non-productive type cough is the chronic cough. In the protective cough, mucus secretion occur and inflammation processes occur in the acute cough, while chronic cough is led to the many severe diseases like the pulmonary TB. Pulmonary tuberculosis is the most common cause in the chronic cough. So in the chronic cough, about it lasts more than the 8 weeks. So cough is divided into the two parts: productive cough that have the sputum, while the unproductive cough that is the dry cough. And there is one more cough, that is drug induced cough. Actually, there are, when we are giving the ACE inhibitors to a cardiac patient, there is the cardiac pathology, and if you are giving the ACE inhibitors to reduce the hypertension of the patient, so at that time there is the cough also arises, so that called the drug induced cough, right? So after that, this is the type of cough. Common causes of the cough. What are the common causes of the cough? Common cold, that is by occurred due to the influenza virus, mainly viral. If you have the any viral disease, or upper and lower respiratory tract infection, the RTI, and the allergic rhinitis, smoking, chronic bronchitis, and pulmonary tuberculosis, that cause the chronic cough. While asthma also cause the cough, because in the asthma, what is bronchial asthma, what happens, that the vasoconstriction occur, vasoconstriction of the bronchi occur, and also there's the loss of the surfactant in the case of the asthma, and inflammatory processes are occurred in the asthma, so all led to that the asthma is a Greek term which means that it led to the problem in the breathing, that is asthma. And gastroesophageal reflex. Gastroesophageal reflex is the again the preventative mechanism. If we are eating food, and this food, instead of going into the esophagus, it goes into the trachea So there is a protective reflex that is called the gastroesophageal reflex. In the case of pneumonia, the cough also occur. It is a symptom of the pneumonia, congestive heart failure, bronchiectasis, and uses of the drug. As I said to you, uses of the drug like ACE inhibitors, angiotensin converting enzyme. So these are the common causes of the cough. For the treatment, now coming on the treatment, you are using these six types of the drugs, these six classes of the drug that are antitussive, cough center suppressant, means they are working at the CNS level, they are working in the cerebral cortex and the central nervous system, they are affected the central nervous system. These are cough center suppressant and the expectorants. Expectorants are those drugs that are mucokinetics. Mucokinetics means they changes the formation of the mucus or reduce the formation of the mucus. And third class drug is the mucolytics. They break the mucus. So mucus is the mucopolysaccharide. So they lead to the demucopolysaccharide reaction or the mucolytic reaction. The fourth class drug that we are giving in the cough is the antihistaminic drugs. Antihistaminic drugs are those drugs that are reducing antihistaminic drugs are those drugs that are reducing the inflammation mainly. Inflammation, actually the IgE antibody that is formed during any inflammatory process, and the type 1 hypersensitivity reaction occur mainly if there is the reason of the asthma that causes the cough, then there is the type 1 hypersensitivity reaction takes place. So that led to we have to give in this type we have to give the antihistaminic drugs to suppress the antibody IgE, and that led to protection from the cough. Another class of the drug that we supposed to give is the bronchodilator. Now, what are the bronchodilators? Bronchodilators we have to give is the sympathomimetics. Sympathomimetics cause the bronchodilation, while we are also giving the parasympathetolytics. These all cause the bronchodilation. And there are the some topical drugs that are called as the pharyngeal demulcents. So these are the treatment of the cough. Now, antitussive drugs that are centered suppressant. So how they are working? Mainly suppresses cough center in the medulla, both central and peripheral effect. It have the central as well as peripheral effect. Actually, antitussive agent are divided into the two class. One is the central effect, and another one is the peripheral nerves effect. So central effect is occur mainly by the drugs that are belonging from the opioid class, that is opioid drugs. And what are the name of these drugs? To remember these names, you have to remember simply a mnemonic: DCP, DCP, and DCCM. DCP, DCCM, or DCM, DCP, DCCM. There is the one more C you have to include. So D for dextromethorphan. The most commonly this dextromethorphan is present in the syrup that you people are supposed to use, like is the Benadryl syrup. This dextromethorphan component is present in the Benadryl syrup. C for codeine, and P for folcodeine in the DCP. So DCP, dextromethorphan, codeine, and folcodeine. Now come and DCM. So N for noscapine, C for cadavine, cafedamine, C for cafedamine, and M for M for mascapine. So these are the opioid class drugs that are affecting the central nervous system and suppressing the cough center in the medulla oblongata. So this is the antitussive class agent. Now coming on the specific drugs, that is the codeine. Nowadays this drug is not useful in the mainly you are not able to give, and also in India this FDA block this drug and give the guidelines to not use this drug codeine. However, in the certain medical fields and the certain agencies also synthesizing these drugs, and not completely banned, but it is contraindicated. Mainly in the nephrotoxicity, because it causes the nephrotoxicity, so it is contraindicated, as well as the it causes the hallucinations. So codeine is the product that is metabolized form of the morphine. You all know about the morphine. It is an alkaloid, and where morphine is achieved? It is the opium poppy plant. It is opium poppy plant from where the we achieved the morphine. And what are the characteristic features? It what it does it do? It suppresses the respiratory center. It suppresses the respiratory center. Mainly, this drug is very beneficial in the asthmatic patient, because asthmatic patient have the problem in the breathing, so it depresses the breathing center. Has useful anti-tissue effect at which drug, but remember, this codeine have the anti-tissue effect only at the low dose, that is less than the 15 milligram. And what are the side effects? The side effects are the thickening of the sputum and the constipation. Constipation is the side effect, and you can't give this drug into the kidney failure patient or the problem of the kidney. So another drug that are the noscapine and folcodeine, that are the drugs that are related to the papaverine. So do not have the addictive, analgesic and constipating property. Doesn't have the analgesic and constipating properties. It also not related to the mucociliary movement. And what are the amount of the dose that you are going to give? It is the noscapine, that is 15 milligram, and if you are using folcodeine, it is the 10 milligram, and both are coming in a syrup, in the syrup form. So noscapine is slightly required in the more amount. Now, the most common used drug in the India for the productive cough syrup is the dextromethorphan. It is available in the form of syrup, tablet, and the spray form. More useful because it have the less side effect, as well as it is present in the more variety form. You can give as a syrup, you can give as a tablet, and you can also give as the inhaler or spray form. So what it does, it block the NMDA receptors. NMDA receptors are the receptors for the glutamate. NMDA receptors are the receptors for the glutamate. So mechanism of action is the it block the NMDA receptors. So what it led? It led to the cough suppressant and gives the temporary relief of the cough caused by the minor throat bronchial irritation. Means if there is the problem of the inflammatory process like present in the flu and cold, and it gives the bronchial dilation and also give relief from the pain, because they are the NMDA receptor antagonist. So it also suppresses the pain center in the cerebral cortex. What are the adverse effect? Adverse effect is the nausea, vomiting, drowsiness, and blurred vision. Nausea, vomiting, drowsiness, and blurred vision. What are the expectorants? Expectorants are the another drugs that are I already said they are the mucokinetics, and they work only peripherally because they are not able to cross the blood brain barrier. So they what it does, it increase the bronchial secretion. How it increase the bronchial secretion? It increase the bronchial secretion by decreasing the viscosity of the sputum, by decreasing the viscosity of the mucus, and decrease the viscosity that led to the increase and removing of the mucus. Increasing and removing of the mucus means mucus get watery in nature, and easily it can get able to remove this. So if there is a patient, then if patient said to doctor that, hello doc, I have the problem, my nose is completely blocked. So what you should have to give, you have to just give the expectorants that led to the mucus dissolve, and pro- patient's nose is properly now working. So it is the more productive in that case, right? So if you are classifying the expectorants, it classified into the directly acting and reflexly acting. What are the directly acting expectorants? That is the guaifenesin. Guaifenesin is the expectorants that is coming in the form of the glycerol guaiacylate and the sodium potassium citrate or the acetate. Sodium potassium citrate, sodium potassium acetate. These are the directly acting expectorants we use, and the reflexly acting is the ammonium salt. While reflexly acting is not as useful as the directly acting expectorants. Coming on the sodium and potassium citrate and acetate, how they are working. If you want to know about this, they act directly by the bronchial secretion by the salt action. What it does, it increase the bronchial secretion and blocking the salt. So guanifacin is the expectorant drug usually taken by the mouth. So it is directly acting. And coming on the pharmacological aspect, they are singly available in the market, as well as they are also available with the expectorants and dextromethorphan or expectorants or folcodeine. Mechanism of action, it increases the volume and reduces the viscosity. Mechanism of action is you already understand. What ammonium salt does, ammonium salt is a gastric irritant. They are reflexively acting expectorants, so it increases the reflex of the bronchial secretion and the sweating. Coming on the mucolytics, it is helpful in the expectoration by decreasing the viscosity of the tracheobronchial secretion. And what are the mucolytics drugs? That is bromhexine and acetylcysteine. Bromhexine and acetylcysteine. Now, bromhexine is the drug that is obtained from the plants. So, it is a synthetic derivative of vesicine. Bromhexine is derived from the vesicine, and it is the alkaloid in nature and derived from the Adha thoda vesica. Adha thoda vesica. Vesicine is the synthetic derivative of the bromhexine. Now, what it does, these expectorants or the mucolytics, they have the similar action. What is the similar action? They just decrease the viscosity of the mucus. So they are thinning and fragmentation of the mucopolysaccharide fibers. So it does mean that volume of the mucus increases while the viscosity of the mucus and sputum decreases. And how the acetylcysteine work? It directly given to the respiratory tract, means it is topical drug that we are using in the cough. And mechanism of action of the acetylcysteine. Saccharide and mucoproteins have the sputum have the disulfide bond, because mucoproteins have the disulfide bond, so it breaks the increase in the viscosity of the mucopolysaccharide and mucoproteins. So it is useful in the cystic fibrosis. It is useful in the cystic fibrosis. Acetylcysteine we use in cystic fibrosis, and action of onset is also very quick, so used in the 2 to 8 hourly. So quick action, and also the half-life of this drug is very less, so used in the 2 to 8 hourly. What are the adverse side effects? Nausea, vomiting, and the bronchospasm. And it is also contraindicated in the bronchial asthma case. What are the antihistaminic drugs? Antihistaminic drugs are the antitussive or expectorant formulations. Antihistaminic, I want to tell you that histamines have the histaminic receptors. There are the four type of histaminic receptors: histaminic 1 and 2 receptors. These are the receptors present in the effective organ where the histamine is released. Effective organ where the histamine is released. This is the H1 and H2 receptors, like present in the gastric, uh, where the gastric juice secreted, that is the stomach. Histamine receptors that led to the secretion of the HCl, while histamine receptors H3 is present in the presynaptic cleft. H3 is present in the presynaptic cleft, and it mediates the release of the histamine. It mediates the release of the histamine. While H4 receptor is present in the central nervous system. So this is the classification of the histaminic receptors. So we are using the antihistaminic drugs to reduce the inflammation process by blocking the IgE antibody, and also it have the same, all the antihistaminic, about all the, not all, about all antihistaminic drugs have the anticholinergic in action. So additive to the antitussive formulation, due to the sedative, anticholinergic action produce relief in the cough because they are anticholinergic. So that led to the sensitive, because it lacked the sensitivity of the cough center decrease. Sensitivity of the cough center decreases in that case. No expectorant actions. Secretions decreases anticholinergic effect because secretions decrease. What it does, antihistamines decrease the secretions, and also it have the anticholinergic effect that led to the decrease in the sensitivity. So there is the no afferent impulse goes, so there is no cup reflex. In that manner, this is working. Suitable for the allergic cough. It is suitable for the allergic cough like the bronchial asthma. So what are the drugs? You are giving the diphenhydramine and promethazine and chlorpheniramine. These are the second class. Chlorphenamine and diphenhydramine. These are the second class antihistaminic drugs. However, the promethazine is the first class drug. It have the promethazine have the anticholinergic effect as well as the antihistaminic effect. For the bronchodilator, bronchospasm or the stimulatory of the pulmonary receptors induce or aggravate cough plus bronchoconstriction. What it does by blocking the by increasing the B2 agonist receptors. Bronchodilators are the bronchodilators we mainly give into the asthmatic patient because they have the problem of the bronchoconstriction. So to reduce this problem in the bronchial asthma, you have to give the beta 2 agonist. Beta 2 agonist, what it does, it led to the vasodilation. And what are the drugs that you are giving? That is the salbutamol, butamol and terbutaline. Salbutamol and terbutaline. These are the two drugs that you are giving in the bronchodilators. And how they are working. For the mechanism of action, surface of velocity of air flow during cough increases. Velocity of air increases because there is the forceful expiration, so clear secretion of the airway. For every type of cough it is not useful, but only this property is useful for the bronchodilator. You can use only if there is the bronchoconstriction occur. So you can use the salbutamol and terbutaline, and also you can use the anti-leukotrienes, the drugs that are blocking the secretion of the leukotrienes. These are montelukast and zafirlukast. So coming on the sixth class drug, that is pharyngeal demulcents. These decrease the afferent impulse and irritate the decrease the impulse and also decrease the pharyngeal mucosa irritation. So that led to the symptomatic relief in the dry cough. So these pharyngeal demulcents mainly useful in the dry cough. And what is the examples there where we are using the pharyngeal demulcents? These are the cough drops, glycerin, licorice, honey. So you can use all these agents in the pharyngeal demulcent. You also can use the glycerin isosorbide or dinitrate. This is the nitrate form of the glycerin you can use in the dry cough. So specific treatment approach to the cough, how you are going to treat the cough. If there is the cough of due to the respiratory, upper respiratory and lower respiratory tract infection, you are going to use the appropriate antibiotic because this RTI infection is mainly caused by the antimicrobial agent or antibacterial agent, bacterial agent. So you are going to use the antimicrobial drugs that are the antibiotics. For the smoking and chronic bronchitis, if there is the case, so you are going to the smoking cessation of the smoking antibiotics. If there is the case of the pulmonary tuberculosis, you are going to give the antibiotics again to block the to kill the bacteria, isoniazid, ethambutol, and there are a lot of drugs, isoniazid, ethambutol, rifampicin. These are the drugs that you are going to mainly anti-tuberculous action. For the asthmatic cough, if there is the patient who have the asthma, so you are going to give the inhaled beta 2 agonist, that is salbutamol and the terbutaline and also budesonide. Budesonide is the corticosteroid drugs. You are already also have to give the corticosteroid drugs in the asthmatic patient because this reduce the anti-inflammatory effect, inflammation effect, reduce the inflammation effect. So you are going to budesonide or the dexamethasone. For the sinusitis, if there is the problem in the nose, so you are going to again use the antibiotics and nasal congestants and the antihistamines. So this is the method of approach of treating the